Now at this point, it kind of looks like a big mess in the bowl. So I'll just stir it a little bit to get the ball of dough to begin. Being sure that you scrape the sides. And you can see that it's starting to get into a nice ball of dough here. This really is, these are the best dinner rolls. I'm not bragging about my Nana, but these are the best. Okay, everything is mixed well. And we can see the dough rolling. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And from this point, we're going to move over to the cutting board. And we'll bring the flour back. What we're going to do is just take a little bit of the flour, put it onto the cutting board. And also, very importantly, put some on your hands so the dough doesn't stick to your hands. And we're going to knead out the dough. Now, my Nana says to knead the dough for about 5 minutes at a minimum. So that's what I did the first time. But I actually tend to knead it a little bit more. Now you can see that the dough at the bottom still has a little bit of a liquid. It's not mixed very well. So I'll use my fork to kind of scrape it out, get it all out of there. Put it all on top. And there we go. Now the reason I knead it a little longer is, what happens is, the kneading process is probably the most important thing you can do for dough. It activates the gluten that is inside of the flour, and the gluten creates pockets of that will contain the air that the yeast releases as the dough rises. So you want to be sure that you knead properly, because it'll give you a nice fluffy bread, a good texture to it. And you can add more flour to the board as you need to, and certainly add more to your hands. Here I'm just trying to get it into a nice ball, and then we'll start kneading. Now it's probably a good idea, I should have taken my watch off, but if you have jewelry on or something, it might be a good idea to go ahead and take that off to keep dough from getting into it. Now, when you knead, the way I do it and the way I've seen a lot of people do it, is take the palm of your hand and push outward on the dough, then just grab the dough and fold it back, turn it once, and repeat, and do the same thing over and over again. And this is where you get your kids in to help. Get them to come in and knead the dough. And you can see a little bit where the dough is starting to stick to the board. You can just pick your dough up, spread some flour around, get some more out of your flour container if you need to. This also puts more flour on your hands so it doesn't stick. And just keep kneading. And I'm going to knead this for probably about 10 minutes. So when I'm done, we'll come back and we'll get it all together and we'll put the rolls into our baking dish. Oh, well, it's been right at about 12 minutes, and I think I'm done kneading. Now, a little test I've read about and I've seen other people do, you just pull your dough up into a little ball, and I call it stooging. Just stooge your dough, and it's not immediately popping back out. I mean, yes, it did come out a little bit, but you can still see the indentations of your finger on the dough. That means you're pretty much at a good place to stop. You can do that a couple times while you're kneading to make sure you get to the right point. But we're good. That's where we're going to go. So we've got our dough ready. We'll put our flour aside. Our greased dish. And we're just going to stack them in here. And then again, I asked my Nana, I said, well, how many do you put in there, and how big do you make each ball of dough? She said, about as big as a large egg. So apparently large eggs are very important in this recipe, even though you never use one. So what we're going to do, just grab a hunk about the size of a large egg, and I give it a little twist and pull. Roll it up a little bit. Just put it right there in the pan. And that's what we're going to do with all of this. And I put them a little close, and then they'll rise together. Here we can get about 3 in a row. So you just want to stack them in there and just continue stacking them. Well, not stacking, but roll them, put them in rows, or put them in the ditch. That's really all you got to do, just like that. Just keep going. Now I have some already ready. I have a few over here. Now when you put your dough in there, just throw a towel over it like this and let it rise. If you're anything like me, you keep your apartment or home on the cool side. You could throw them in the oven just to keep them out of the cold air. Or if you have somewhere where sunlight comes through the window, you could put them in the sun just to give them a little bit of heat. Also, if you have a gas oven with a pilot light, when you put it in the oven, that heat will also help it rise greatly. In fact, the first time I ever made bread when I was catering, I put the dough in the oven and it rolled out and entirely filled the oven. No joke. I'll put the video up someday because it's hilarious. But here we have a good comparison on what you need to look for. These rolls look absolutely beautiful, and this is where they came from. So what you're looking for is for the rolls to double in size. Now these rolls have been rising for, we're going on about 2.5 hours. I usually give them about an hour and a half, or I don't really give them a strict time frame, but I really look for them just to double in size. And this is where I've gotten to. And when I put these in here, they were about this far apart, and I've stacked them in here just, not tight or anything, but they rise together. So that's what you're looking for. Those look absolutely great. And here I have two ready to go. And now to cook them, again, my Nana is such the scientist. She said cook it anywhere between 375 and 400 degrees. So it's kind of a big range. So I just shot somewhere right in the middle. And I have the oven at 380 degrees. And all we're going to do is just throw them in there until they turn nice and golden brown on top. And that's probably going to be about 15 minutes. So we'll throw these in the oven. And while those are cooking, I'll continue to put the rest of this dough in this pan, and in about 15 minutes we'll pull those out and see how they're doing. Well, it's time to take our rolls out of the oven. They smell absolutely fantastic. Now, that is a work of art. I love these things. Now while they were baking, we decided to maybe put a little something on top of them. So I melted some butter and put a little garlic salt, or garlic powder, I'm sorry. Put a little garlic powder in there. Melted the butter. I thought also maybe put a little bit of honey in there instead of the garlic powder, make a little honey butter. But I'll just take this just to give it a little bit of a flavor on top. And just brush the rolls right when they come out of the oven. All right, there we are. We're set. We're good to go. We have a little platter here. We're just gonna so we're just gonna take the rolls and dump them onto our platter here. It should pop right out. There they go. Now if you want to turn them over, you can. Be careful though. And there you go. This is my Nana's Manna. Straight to you. Very easy to do. Again, a very kid-friendly recipe. Get your kids involved. Teach your kids how to cook. Hey everybody, thanks for watching The Everyday Chef. And if you have anything that you would like for me to make, or if you have any questions or anything of that nature, feel free to email me at the email address listed below. You're 10 minutes closer to a more delicious life. Remember, the secret ingredient to any recipe is a dash of imagination.